Hey everybody, this is Blue, and I am overdue to do another book review. And so I was going through my collection and I decided to do Rolemaster Companion #1, the original. This is an amazing supplement. It gives a lot of information, a lot of ideas for the GM to add to his game. There's a lot of option rules, spell lists, professions, classes, and so this has a lot to offer a person. And yes, I highly suggest to everybody to get it. But before I continue on, RPG Gamer did his video about And a 10-Foot Pole, which is a generic source book also created by Iron Crown Enterprises, the company that makes Rolemaster. And it's an excellent video. He gives a very good review, a good detailed review on what the book has to offer. And so if you are looking for information to add meat to your RPG, check out that video. RPG Gamer, okay? You will not be disappointed. So let's continue on here. It's an excellent supplement. It is something that I think most gamers should look at because it just has just enough of everything to make it a good game. So I love the artwork for it. That is an epic image. It is something that stands out. And so whenever I see that image, I only think of RMC #1. That image is for that book. Unfortunately, Rolemaster Iron Crown Enterprises didn't think this one through, and they did this. They used the same image on other product. And I think that is a tactical error because certain images should be for a certain product, and it should stick with that product. You should not switch around here, there, and everywhere. But for RMC1, Rolemaster Companion, I love that image. And that was for their second edition. Arcane Companion, if I remember right, was 4th edition. And I guess they were trying to save a little money. I'm not sure. But they should never have used the same image for different products, in my opinion. So, let's get into the book. Now, yeah. Good old table of contents. Good introduction, some designer notes. Part I like about this is they get, like I said, they put in these little stories here, like the on Arcane Magics, which is, you know, a fictional story about a fictional author who talked about arcane mechanics. And, you know, it goes on. It gives you a lot of option rules. This is a great way for a GM to add a little magical backstory to his world. And earth nodes, that's like energy pools of essence. So that was a nice little thing to add to the game. And so, like I said, you can see where they have option rules, you know, so you can know what you can add. You're free to add anything, but here's like an idea to add to your game. Magical game balance. Now, I think this is something that's very important. If you are new to being a GM or DM, you need to know what type of balance to have in your game. And it's a wonderful thing to have. They talk about magical languages. And right here, you can see they give some terms, a fantasy words for various concepts. So, I mean, and there is always some good artwork in the Iron Crown books, these small black and white images. I just like how, it adds to it just for the reader. Then spell lists. They have a lot of spell lists in this book, and so we're going to quickly go through some of them. The first one you see is Blade Runes. This is an awesome spell list because you can give this to your Alchemist or your Craftsman, and you can add Blade Runes or runes to your weapons. Doesn't always have to be a sword. And, it'll level up weapons. Like spell number 2 is Weapon Rune. Increases the item's offensive bonus by 10. The Blade Rune dims when the additional plus 10 changes the result of the attack. Okay, and these are not permanent, but you can have them last an extended period. There are option rules for that. They have the next one, level 3 spell, Empathy Rune. That rune I absolutely love because it bonds the weapon to the user, so that if anybody else tries to use that sword, the runes do not work. So you could have yourself a plus 10 weapon for your PC, but if anybody else tries to use it, it's just a regular old sword. I love that. Next page is Earthblood's Ways. This is talking about earth nodes and essence pools. It's an interesting read. I'm not going to get into that one because that one, it depends on the option rules that you want to follow. Entity Mastery. This is a kind of the super easy version of building constructs and that. So you can build golems in this one. Yeah. So it's kind of nice to have, but I don't like it being just an arcane list. It's kind of like they threw too many arcane lists up there, and it just kind of, to me, it ruined it just a wee bit. Ethereal Mastery. I'm trying to remember everything here. It's a bad thing. Sometimes you use these books like every day, and then sometimes it's like once a month. Oh yeah, they're saying that in here, this is a cool description on that background material. It should be noted that this contains among the most dangerous spells ever researched. Therefore, most magical libraries are required by local authorities to make these spells available only to those that have secured a permit specifying permission and time to study or use. I thought that was always cool. Mana fires. This is basically magical fires where you can build, you can have a flaming sword if you want to. Sorry on that part. Spell coordination. This is about subtle changes to a spell. You can also store spells. You can store other people's spells with this, but they got to be willing. So I thought that was always kind of cool. Next one is shape-changing ways. So you have to study a plant or animal first, and then as you progress down the list, you can actually take shape. of various plants and animals. I think this list was kind of a bad idea because, again, if you notice, they added this to the arcane list. And so this is something, that should be more for just like the druid or the ranger. But by doing it this way, depending on what option rules you use, you are making this, like anybody can do it. Then they got some druids base spell lists on this page here. Animal Mastery and Druid's Peace. Druid's Peace was one of my most overused spell lists because, you can calm animals down, hold kind. So that was a very nice thing to have. This spell list, Druid Staff, has kind of turned into a cookie cutter for Rolemaster because they have Wizard Staff. I believe they have one that's called Mage Staff, where basically it's the same spell list layout, and then they make a little tweak here or there, and it's kind of it's a nice spell list, but it just kind of takes away that it became cookie cutter. And so my suggestion would be, just create a spell list, call it Mage Staff, give it a set, and anybody can use it. Any spell user can use it. Nature's Forms, again, okay, now here we got it where you can study and you can take shape of plants and animals. So, basically in the same book they have the spell, basically the same spell list listed twice. One's arcane, the other one's a druid base list. Okay, next page we have Stone Mastery. Nice spell list to have because your druids are out in natures and they're able to create stone walls, magical corridors, stone throw, and so they can defend themselves, defend others, and they can use this with missile attacks. So it does have some good value here. Tree Mastery, of course, druids, if you think about the European druids, they're out in the woods. So Tree Mastery, it just makes good sense. Then the Nightblade. Nightblades are Rolemaster's semi-magical assassins. And so they have a space spell list for distractions, so you can, get in close. Good idea to have. Phantom Faces is the next one, and it is all about magical disguises and change of form, because they got one in here, spell list number 11, Water Lungs. Caster can breathe air or water at will. So that's kind of interesting. Next set of spells is Movement, Phantom Movements. Of course, if you are an assassin, you want to be able to move like a ninja, so to say. And then you got your Poison Mastery, which is also a good one to have if you are out to kill people. Oops, did I miss one? Oh, it's just... Next page has continuation on this part here. The next spell list that they have is Adrenal Focus. Of course, sometimes, your assassin has to stop, think, focus, and prepare to do an action. Well, here's Adrenal Focus, which is the magical form of using adrenal maneuvers or defenses, which are skills in the Rolemaster game. Paladin-based spell list. I love paladins. Now, after I did some work anyway. Holy Warrior is a nice spell list. It's weird because, it's more talking about pain relief, cut repair, strength, stun relief, holy aura. You would think Holy Warrior was more offensive oriented, but it's not. Their next spell list is Spellbreaker. Of course, a paladin should be able to break curses and also counter some spell work. And so that is a nice spell list to have. On the next page, we're on page number 28, they have ceremonies. This is, religious ceremonies. So, your paladin or cleric can use these for, to do a marriage, burial, their dedications, concentrations. There's a whole bunch of concepts in this spell list that you can give to your characters, to the PCs, so that they are more fleshed out. They're not bare boned. Next spell list is Familiar Law. This is for like your witches on getting a familiar. Like witches, they have black cats, supposedly. Well, there you go. Then they have Guardian Ways. And this is, about detecting enemies, detecting your enemies, guardian attacks. It's more of a defensive, offensive spell list. Like spell number 2, Guardian Attack 1. Caster gets a +10 offensive bonus modification for missile or melee combat against an appropriate enemy. So, for those of you that do the D20 clones, a +10 attack for Rolemaster would be like a +2 for your combats. Then they got alchemical preparations. Again, if you like your alchemy and all that, you will need these. On the next page, we got midwifery. You got to give ICE credit because they have some good details and they want to add a lot to their games. Next up on 32 is Warding Ways. Of course, this is how to protect yourself, setting up alarms. But the next section is I think the best section of this whole module, and that is additional spells. There are so many different spells on here. It's amazing, and you're going to forget about them. But, you got to go through this every once in a while just to remind yourself of what's on here. I mean, they got food preparation, food saving, there's glamour spells, repair spells. Okay, on this page, you see it's Knives of the Wood right here. This is a force spell, level 11. The caster causes all foliage in the area to bristle with 6-inch to 1-foot barbed thorns and branches. Most animals and creatures will refuse to enter such an area after they discover it, and they will leave the area after being wounded in the effect. Even those who move through the area carefully are subject to 1 to 4 dagger attacks, plus 50 offensive bonus, for each 10 feet moved through. Those running or falling are subject to 1 to 10 dagger attacks, plus 75 offensive bonus for every 10 foot that they move through. So you can take this spell and you can create a perimeter around you if you're in the middle of nature, and you can have it protect you. And isn't that an awesome thing? And like I said, they have dagger attacks in this. So I love that spell. And if you also notice, right not too far away from it, is Knives of the Earth, which is the same type of spell, but instead of the trees developing these thorns, you have stone spikes coming out of the ground. And you can, again, use this to form a defense to protect you while you're out camping. And I think that's just awesome. Continuing on the next page, right here, I think you can see my cursor, Longsleeve. Okay. This is a level 25 spell. Until dispelled, the target is put into a state of deep sleep in which he will not age and will only die if his body is killed. The sleep will continue until it is dispelled or until a non-magic condition specified by the caster is accomplished. So, if somebody is injured, you can have them on the wagon, cast this spell, and you can put them to sleep and put the conditions until they healed half of their wounds. Okay? And so this would be an excellent spell to have. And it's not part of any spell list. These are individual spells. They have an open prison, so you can get out of prison. I mean, I just love all the possibilities that are in this. And continuing on, they got more of these individual spells, but now we're getting into some of the higher levels. What they mean by higher level is anything over 50th level. Now, D&D, and the clones, you know, they only go up to 20th level. Rolemaster says that they support higher levels. Now, most of their spell lists will go up to level 50, which I have issues with. But they do have spell lists, spells here, that go up to level 100. And so this has a lot of awesome potential. And I'm trying to find one of my favorite spells here. Like I said, it's hard to remember all of these spells because there is so many oddities, I should say. They have a mass fly, but True Flight. This is a level 60 spell, and you know, it is where the PC, the caster, can fly except at a rate of 1,000 feet per round. So to scale that means that every round, and in Rolemaster it is 10 seconds, the caster can fly 3 blocks. That's some pretty good speed, and so I love that spell. And so we need to continue on. A Delver base list. Now, I'm going to show you that later, but the Delver is somebody that searches through material to put in runes and sigils. And so it's kind of unique. And now we're getting into the professions. So they got the paladin, which is nice. And they give a good description of the paladin and some of its basic stats in this stat block. So it is a great way to, add professions to the game. Next, they got the burglar and the barbarian. And man, during this time of the when I was playing, one of my favorite classes, professions, was the barbarian, because they could be a little crude and all that. It was a lot easier to roleplay a barbarian than it was to do a paladin. High Warrior Monk. Now this is a martial artist that has some special mystical abilities that help him in his movements and his attacks. So if you are wanting to have a martial artist with a little oomph, a High Warrior Monk, according to them, is a good one. The Archmage, I'm not a big fan about. In Rolemaster, they have 4 basic classes of magic. You have your essence, mentalism, and channeling. And that what they call primal magic is arcane magic. And so an archmage is somebody that you casts arcane magic that is not divided up into the 3 other realms. And I just found it to be kind of boring. More complaints. There we go for the Nightblade. The Nightblade is your magic assassin. And that now my major complaints here with this book. The Druid, which you'll barely notice here at the bottom, I give 1 paragraph for the Druid. And it's basically saying the Druid is a more European variety of the Alchemist. His 6 Druidic base spell lists are used instead of the Alchemist base lists. They focus on his militant approach to life and survival, his investment in and dependence on his homemade magic staff, his day-to-day work as minister and healer of the wilds, and his power as an emissary of peace. That's it. And then you go, the Delver is basically the same thing. 1 paragraph. That's all you get. And I think that they should have added more. I mean, the Nightblade is just as bad. I mean, it's a little bit bigger paragraph, but there should have been more details in the professions in the Rolemaster Companions. There should have been more. Then you got Cleric's Law. Now, I like this because it helps give more substance to your clerics, because it adds more spell lists to it. So instead of your standard 6 base spell lists that the cleric has, you can then add a couple additional spell lists to reference what type of deity that this cleric follows, or deities. So, like if you were wanting a sun or fire, whoops, let me go to that page. Right up here it says Sunfire Light, like the Lords of Light for those who like Game of Thrones. Then your cleric for it would know Fire Law, Light Law, and Light Molding. And you can do that with any type of deity. You just kind of figure out what that deity wants, and you can manipulate the spells to fit that particular style. next section talks about races. And we're talking about different humanoid tribes, like the Dark Tribes, Northmen, Arctic Men. They have gray elves, dark elves, aquatic elves. Oops. And let me move that down a little bit more. So they're talking about all these different races, and they got the half races. Even though WotC says they're now racist if you have a half dwarf or a half elf, but they give the stats for them, so that if you can take anything from this list, you give them the racial stats and their special mods, and you can roleplay it. So they just expanded the races that are in the Rolemaster game, and that's nice. And now we're going to be talking about elves and self-discipline. This is because the elven self-discipline is low, but yet if you need sneaky elves and all that, that works against them, and so this is an option rule to make them better. Secondary skills. Rolemaster is a skill-heavy, chart-heavy RPG. If you are just wanting something where you can talk your butt through and all that, this is not the game for you. But they have stats here because they like to give everything like a numerical value, and you roll the dice to find out if you succeed or fail. And so they're talking about some very different skills. They have an interrogation skill that, gosh, I overused that. But there's diplomacy, disarming, gimmetry, heraldry, lip reading, reverse stroke, which is actually one of the most underused but loved skills as far as I'm concerned. On next page, stat bonuses. I love this part here because they give you smooth stat bonus distribution, how to make everything, how to create the PCs better. It's not as rigid, and so it's a good system there. It's a good option rule to have for your homebrew. Next up is background options. They have many pages of background options. Now, Rolemaster uses a D100, and so you would roll your 2d10 and you would see where you ended up on the chart, and you can add that particular result on your PC. So if you rolled an 18, you would get unnatural stamina, may run up to 3 times normal movement rates, and spend only 1 exhaustion point every 60 rounds. That's amazing. And that's at your skills at arms section. Now, the next section that goes on, they have a skill at magic. And at 18 would have been elven training. PC gets plus 25 bonus to his meditation skill bonus. That's pretty good, isn't it? And so throughout this, they are giving you different ways to play the game where you can make alterations so that it works better for you. And I think this adds to the game immensely, because not all games are meant for everybody. Okay, we got all these channels out there that are like DM Lair that's saying that this could make you a bad GM. Well, it could be game dynamics. It could be the way the game is designed does not work well with you, and so you can go through option rules like they have here, and you can make the game better. make it work for you. Right here, Alchemist, like I said, Rolemaster, Iron Crown, is well known for overloading you with information. And here we got a nice little alchemical inertial factors. This is how, you put rules into your magic item creation. It makes it a challenge to make, and I think it adds greater detail to the game. So they give many pages for this. Special weapons making, I love it. I always love that image right there, the shield breaker. So that, you can give your axe an ability that when going up against a shield, there's like an additional 20% where it's going to cleave the shield. But wouldn't that be awesome? They got poison charts in here. It just adds to the game. Herbs, not just poisons, ways to cure the poisons. Here we're talking all the condensed combat system. For those of you who have played different games and all, they all have their unique gaming system. And so, Rolemaster, in one of their option rules, has this condensed combat system, and it is pretty interesting. They tell you what level to hit, where to put your A, B, C, D, and E criticals, and how to figure out damage. The advantage of this is you can get everything on 2 pieces of paper, basically, and do a whole battle, which is some ways better than the standard Rolemaster system, where they got arms law, and you have individual pages for individual weapons, and it could just take a while, to go from broadsword to battle axe. Oh, that person has a spear. Okay, those are 3 different charts. That can take time. One of the problems with Rolemaster is in combat, breaking 150. Because their charts go up to 150, what happens if your result is above 150? And so they give you options. I think that gives the game master so much leeway to make the game better. It's awesome. They have charts and all this to figure out how much your character weighs if he's so tall and muscular. It's good in some ways. So if you're wanting a highly detailed game, they have the charts to add that extra level of detail. Or you could ignore all of these and have a more free-flowing game. And so it's pretty amazing there. Yeah. And so right here, this is like the most important chart for you if you are designing your own game with your own levels, your own unique weapons and attack tables, because sometimes you got to figure out, well, what is the ability of a weapon compared to the others? And here you have it. Because you can now reference this and go, a dagger has a strength of 109, but the falchion is a 90. So you can kind of do a comparison. It's kind of nice. They even have nice charts for like martial arts fumble tables. this book has a little bit of everything for everybody. We got here more combat options. It is a book full of everything. Stories. Now, this particular story is something that I have read many, many times. The Black Reaver. The Black Reaver is an encounter. It is a very powerful construct that is designed to protect something. It doesn't move fast. It goes at a constant, slow pace. And this story, it tells about how some thieves went after this magical item, and they fought and tried to fight and evade a Black Reaver. They thought they got away with it, and the Black Reaver just went at this constant speed. They constantly refer to it as click, 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 the sound of its footprints. And it is an amazing story, and I loved it. I just had to add Black Reavers to my game because it was just such an impressive story. Creatures. Now this is awesome as well because they have so many animals that you can add to your game. They got a winged wolf, carnivorous flying squirrels, which I thought was always funny. They got different beasts like a battle boar, war cat. They even have lichens in here, so you can have a werebear, were-lions, demons, warrior demons. Whoops. There we go. Yeah, warrior demons. They add some undead. And right here you can see Black Reaver and the lesser Black Reaver. The prime Black Reaver is level 85. That's an impressive number. Converting that to D&D and the clones, you take numbers like that and divide it by 5. 85 divided by 5 is 17. So this is a level 17 roughly for D&D and the clones encounter. And that's why it is so powerful. They got some dragons. These three I like because they're different. The Fairy Dragon, the Mage Drake, and the Arcane Drake. Again, they were going a little bit too much on the arcane in this book, but it adds flair. And for those of you that are designing for your game, they have an idea here for city design. They got a step-by-step of what you should add to a city to make it more playable. They even go and they talk about childbirth and sibling generations. This one I kind of ignored personally because I just thought that was just going way too far. A little bit too much detail. And I think many of you would agree with that. And as you go on, they have reasons for birth and injuries. for the mother when she goes through childbirth. And so I just, too much. They have some good game aids, like package deals. So if you're in a hurry, you can go look through here and you can, let me get to the right page for you. And you can go and pick, let's go with the number 4. Kit number 4 is an entry kit. Sale total is 85 brass pieces. Lockpick set, a sack, 50 foot of superior rope, a spade, crowbar, gloves, half-inch drill, grappling hook, and climbing claws. So that's, well, I'd say it'd be perfect if you were a thief. And then we're going to go to the final part, the Quabbles. The Quabbles is a deck of 40 cards that can be used for a variety of purposes. Permission is granted to reproduce, mechanically copy, photocopy, or print or reference sheets. The symbols and the cards themselves for your personal use only. Some of the uses for this deck, and they give you some options. And oh, I forgot, this PDF does not have the Quabbles on it. The book has it. So, and so the Quabbles are these right here. And these are kind of referencing using various forms of runes, and like the number 7 rune, which is this one right here. It's labeled under growth, new birth. It's a birch tree, okay? And so, with your runes, like your runic runes, each symbol represents something, and then you, as a GM, can say, well, with these 3 runes, you are going to go through a growth period followed by some despair. And so it is a lot of information to have on hand. Then the very last thing, and if you are designing your game, this is also something nice to have. If you are using a stat system, they actually have the character sheets there. This is for their Rolemaster Edition 2 game, where they use a 10-10 stat system, weapons, skills, spells, they got it all. They even have one if you're not a spell user. And so this book has a lot to offer, and I think that if you can get your hands on it, even if you're not playing Rolemaster, it has a lot of information that you can use and put into whatever game system you are using. Next week I will be doing Rolemaster Companion 2. It has a way different setup, and I think you'll enjoy that one too. So everybody, put your comments below what you think about RMC1. And everybody, take care. Be at peace.